into the Cougar Tailgate, where BYU fandom lives. Here's your host, Lauren McClain.
What's up, everyone? It's the biggest game of the year tomorrow for NFL fans, and today's show will be all about some of our favorite and most memorable past Super Bowls with former BYU Cougars involved. And there have been some epic ones. And speaking of Cougars and the big game, former BYU tight end and Super Bowl champ Dennis Pitta joins me later in the show to talk about what he remembers from his 2013 victory and his thoughts on Super Bowl 56. But first, joining me is the wonderfully talented and unabashed Cougars, Cardinals, Chiefs, and Jazz fan, Jason Shepard. Hi, Shep.
Hi, Lauren. Good to talk to you again.
It is good to talk to you. So tomorrow is the day all of us fans look forward to every year, even if your team didn't make it, because it's entertaining football. Well, usually. And the halftime show is usually all right.
Are you a halftime show person, by the way?
Why do we watch again? No, I'm just kidding. It just depends.
It depends on who it is. It depends on who it is. Yep. Otherwise, it's getting more food, bathroom break, that kind of stuff.
Yes, it depends on if there are children around sometimes.
Yeah.
This year's halftime show could be epic, and I'm hoping it's epic, Shep. It's Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Dr. Dre, Kendrick Lamar. And I mean, that's a lot of people to fit in a 10-minute halftime show. I feel like this one could go either way. Don't you think?
This one could be awesome
one of the best or awful.
Or a disaster. It's one of the.
No,
I don't think there's going to be a middle ground on this one. But it should be good with those types of names. It should be good.
Yes, and they've all worked together before. So I don't think it's like a bunch of random people like trying to mix their music genres. Like all these people have worked together before. So I think it could be awesome. You mentioned you go get food.
Yes.
What is your favorite Super Bowl food that you eat?
You can't go wrong with the wings.
Okay.
And I love the spicy, the wings. So the more spicy, the better. That's the way the more uncomfortable my stomach can feel, the more I enjoy them. So I like that. I try and do a little barbecue as well. Because that's the best part about Super Bowl is the food doesn't have to make sense together. You can have a bunch of different things, and that's typically how we handle our Super Bowl stuff. So you can maybe make some brisket and then have wings and then chips and salsa. So that's one of our things that we love to do. We have our own favorite Mexican restaurant that we like to go get salsa from, and then that's the salsa that we use for chips and salsa.
Can I ask which restaurant?
Yes, it is La Fountain.
La Fountain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never heard of that one. But I love me some chips and salsa. It really is an excuse to eat food that's horrible for you.
Oh, yeah. And like licorice,
really delicious.
M&Ms, like all of it. Just bring it. Bring it.
Absolutely. I'm with you. All right. Well, do you watch the commercials?
Oh, of course. Love them.
Are you a commercial guy?
I'm that guy that is all about the sports and the commercial. Like, people seem to like, if they're like diehard sports, they're like, you can have the commercials. I love them both. I get into them. The thing with the commercials, you talked about how the halftime show has started to take a dip over the last 10 years. The commercials, there really has not been a year where you've had maybe more than maybe one or two really good ones. You used to have a ton of them. Now you get maybe one or two that are really, really good, and the rest you forget by the time the game's over.
Absolutely. And what's so crazy, what makes you want to watch them, even though you know most of them are going to be terrible, is that they paid multi-million dollars to have that like a 30-second commercial during the Super Bowl. So you're like, I got to see what they came up with. And some of them are just plain dumb. But that's okay. That's okay. They try their best.
It's their money, I guess.
It is their money. You can do whatever you want with your money. All right, Shep, there have been many former Cougars who have had standout performances in previous Super Bowls or have been involved in some epic games. And here are a few that stood out to me, and then we'll discuss which one's our favorite. 1986, Jim McMahon, Chicago Bears.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Shep, do you remember that game?
I don't remember the game.
I wasn't born.
No, I was born. I was younger, but I remember the game mostly looking back on it.
Well, you're definitely going to remember 1995, Steve Young.
Oh, yeah.
Over the San Diego Chargers. There were 5 guys from BYU on that team. Steve Young, Tom Hummel, Bart Oates, Jamal Willis, and Tim Henshaw. Well, that's pretty freaking cool.
See, the thing I remember, too, is him, speaking of Steve Young, like walking on the sideline and, like acting as if he's taking the monkey off of his back because everybody said he couldn't win the Super Bowl like Joe Montana, and he was finally able to get that off of his back. That's kind of my lasting memory of that Super Bowl. And the 49ers dominated the Chargers. They just destroyed them. It was no contest.
2006, Pittsburgh Steelers with Brett Kiesel, Sean Nua, and Chris Hoke. All D linemen, and they beat the Seahawks out of BYU. I don't remember that game super well. Like, I don't think it was like a standout game, but I always just think it's super cool when Cougars are in the game. And Brett Kiesel, what a guy. All right, one that stands out to me, Shep, 2013, with Dennis Pitta, who we're having on later in the show. Ravens over the 49ers. He caught a touchdown pass. The lights went out for how long? Do you remember that?
It felt like a while. It felt like it was about 20 minutes. I don't think it was that long. But, I mean, honestly, on the biggest stage in the world and you have an issue like that's what I – honestly, I remember the two things that you just brought up from that Super Bowl. I remember Pitta catching the touchdown, and I remember the lights going out for a period of time. Those are my lasting memories from that Super Bowl.
Yes, and the Harbaugh brothers coaching against each other.
That's right.
All right, 2017 to 2019, Kyle Van Noy with the Patriots playing with Tom Brady as a starter, and they won 2 out of those 3 games. And so cool for Kyle Van Noy. I don't think that was a surprise to any of us that he had success at the next level, wouldn't you say?
No, this guy's an absolute stud. I'm so glad he was able to get out of Detroit.
Yes.
And get with a winning team. I mean, not only get with a winning team, get with the winning team, and to be able to be a part of that ride with the Patriots, whether you like the Patriots or not, being able to see Kyle Van Noy have that type of impact on the Patriots defense was really cool.
And then this one's for you, Shep. 2020, Chiefs versus 49ers. You got Danny Sorensen, Andy Reid versus Fred Warner and the 49ers. Fred had an interception.
Yes.
But the Chiefs ended up winning. So it was kind of the best case scenario for BYU fans, unless you are a diehard 49ers fan.
Well, and as we talked about, a lot probably were. But look, that's my favorite Super Bowl memory because it's my team. I have only seen 2 teams of mine win championships. I guess technically 3 because I originally grew up a Kansas City Royals fan, and so I saw them win the World Series actually twice. But I saw the Cardinals win the World Series, so one of my teams. And then when the Chiefs won, that was another opportunity to see one of my teams win a championship. Because I didn't live in Utah in '84 when BYU football won the national championship. So that was not something that I was necessarily aware of living in Missouri. So having the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, that's the one that I will always remember.
Good work, Shep. My last question for you is, who do you got winning tomorrow?
At the end of the day, I actually think the Rams are going to win. I think they do win the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm rooting for the Rams because I know he's a Ute, but I'm also an Eric Weddle fan. We had his wife, Chanel Weddle, on a couple weeks ago. So go Rams. And I think it's going to be an awesome game, though. All right, Chef, thank you so much for coming on, my friend.
You bet. Always great talking with you, Lauren.
All right, coming up, he's arguably the best tight end to ever come out of BYU and has a big old ring with the Ravens logo on it to prove it. Dennis Pitta joins me next on Cougar Tailgate. Welcome back to Cougar Tailgate. I'm Lauren McClain. The big game is this weekend between the LA Rams and Cincinnati Bengals. And joining me now is a guy that knows a thing or two about not only playing in the NFL's biggest game of the year, but winning it. His giant ring came in 2013 with the Baltimore Ravens. Let's welcome on former BYU and NFL tight end, Dennis Pitta. Thanks for coming on with me, Dennis.
Hey, thank you, Lauren. Happy to be here.
Hey, good. It's good to hear your voice. It's been a while. All right, well, we were talking a little bit before we started. You have 3 kids, 1 on the way, and you have twins, which blows my mind being a mother myself. But what else are you up to these days? Where are you guys living and what are you doing?
Well, I mean, you basically, that was the gist of what I'm doing these days. It's just kids. Kids kind of, runs my life, as you know. Twins was not easy. It was, my twins are 6 years old now. They're twin girls, identical. And they were a handful. And like you mentioned, we have 1 on the way, but it's been 6 years since, we've had any kids. And so we had to wait until we kind of, were able to catch our breath from the twins. Cause it was a different ball game for sure. We have an 8-year-old son too, who's our oldest, but we have another girl on the way and we're excited about that new addition, but the kids kind of, they rule the house and they run our lives, and we live in Arizona right now. And, we're we're just shuttling kids all around to sports and all the different things that they're doing. But that's kind of all that I've been up to be completely honest. So it's not that exciting in the Pitta home. It's just breaking up fights and yelling at kids is about the gist of our day.
And getting the magic eraser, cleaning off things off the wall. That's what I do every day. And honestly, hearing you talk about the boredom, but which really it is not. It's an incredible thing to be a parent, but it makes us all feel better about our lives because that's what most of us are doing. So Dennis, tomorrow is the matchup. Very few of us anticipated, but I'm not mad about it. What were your initial thoughts on the matchup between the Rams and the Bengals?
Well, it is, I think, an unexpected matchup on one side of the coin. I predicted the Rams would be in this position. I think ever since they got Matthew Stafford in the offseason, I thought they were going to be, one of the favorites coming out of the NFC. And I remember going on a radio show middle of the season, and they asked me what my prediction was for who I thought was going to be in the Super Bowl, and I said the Rams. I mean, I thought they were, from top to bottom, their roster is very, very good. Mm-hmm. And they didn't play their best at times throughout the season, and they had some new additions with Von Miller and OBJ and some of those things that needed some time to gel and galvanize and all that. But now they're kind of, they hit their stride, and they've worked all those parts in now, and they're firing at all cylinders. So that was not unexpected. I think the Bengals is the team that was certainly unexpected. I think they had the same Super Bowl odds going into the year as the Jets and the Jaguars and all the worst teams in the NFL, and rightfully so. They weren't a very good team last year, but you just cannot overstate the impact that Joe Burrow has for that franchise. I mean, it's incredible. I played the Bengals twice a year, every year. They were in our division with the Ravens. And so, I know that franchise well. I've played in that stadium a million different times. And, and just knowing that franchise and knowing kind of from the ownership level down, it's not, the most highly sought after franchise. It's not the most highly thought of franchise when it comes to players and stuff like that. I mean, it's a team that a lot of guys want to avoid, to be completely honest. But it's amazing that a guy like Joe Burrow and his buddy Jamar Chase and some of the pieces that they brought in recently have completely changed the perception of the Bengals across the league. And now it's like everybody wants to go play with Joe Burrow. I think Gronkowski just got asked about it a couple of days ago. Well, if you're not going to play with Tom Brady, what would be your next choice at quarterback? And he said Joe Burrow. And, for a guy like that who could go anywhere he wants, to want to go play with a guy like Joe Burrow in Cincinnati for that organization, that says a lot. And so, I think it's awesome. And I will be rooting for the Bengals, to be completely honest, because I love the story. I've been a fan of Joe Burrow since he was at LSU and kind of jumped onto the scene. And I love what they're doing. I love a good underdog story, and that's certainly what this is. I think, the betting favorites, this is probably not the betting audience, I know that, but is the Rams. But I'll be rooting for the Bengals. I think it's a cool story.
It is a great story, and Joe Burrow is definitely his own man. He is very unique, and it is incredible what he did for that organization. And Matthew Stafford also very cool story. So I think that in that regard, it'll be a fun matchup. You mentioned that they had a few pieces. One of those pieces was Eric Weddle, just for the playoffs, which is super cool. We talked to his wife a couple weeks ago, and she told us what it's like for her and her family while he's gone so much leading up to the Super Bowl. From your perspective, what's the week like leading up to the Super Bowl compared to like the other practices throughout the year?
Yeah, it's a really hectic time, to be completely honest. It's a lot of chaos. It's a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. I mean, in our case, it was you win the AFC Championship game, and then you have 2 weeks into the Super Bowl. And those 2 weeks it's chaotic. I mean, you have, you're trying to manage, okay, hotel rooms for families, who's getting tickets, how many more tickets do I need, who's coming, and then you get to the Super Bowl site the next week, and you're there all week long, and there's all different kinds of things, that activities and events and all this stuff that you have to get the passes to your family for. And I screwed all that up. I was supposed to give a whole packet to my wife that had all of the passes and all of the the tickets and everything for all the different events throughout the week, and she didn't have any of them. And so she was scrambling. As a player, you're trying to block that out as much as you can, but it's really, really difficult because there's so much distraction going on in those 2 weeks leading up to that game. And that's just all the off the field stuff, not to mention the stress and everything that goes into playing in and on the biggest stage ever. And I mean, to say you're not nervous to play in the Super Bowl is crazy. Everybody was nervous. You want to play well. You want to win. You don't want to go that far and have to put in that many extra weeks throughout the season just to come away a loser like the other 31 teams. You want to be able to say, you're the Super Bowl champion when all is said and done, and having to go through that whole craziness of those 2 weeks. You don't want it to be all for naught. And so there's the stress of playing that. I mean, as a receiver, you're sitting there thinking about, what if I drop a touchdown pass in the biggest game of my life and everybody's watching? Those thoughts go through your head. I mean, it's all, we're all human beings, and it's the biggest game on the biggest stage you'll ever play in. And there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of nerves. But the cool thing is, at the end of the day, you get into that game and everything kind of settles down, and you're able to kind of compartmentalize everything and block it out and kind of get into the zone. And I thought that was really, really cool. To have all that going on, to be so nervous leading up to the game, and then the game start and it feels like another football game, and you can rely on the years and years and years of training and practice and all that to just kind of take over and kick in. You don't have to think about anything.
Well, luckily for you, you didn't drop the pass. You caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And Dennis, it's been 9 years since you played in the Super Bowl. Is that kind of a weird thought?
That is. I actually didn't think it was that long ago until you said that, but 9 years is a long time. Yeah, we were Super Bowl 47. Well, I don't even know what Super Bowl is this?
56.
56. I guess I could have done that math. You said 9 years. That math was not that hard, but yeah, I mean,
I'm terrible at math. I just already knew the number, so don't feel bad about yourself. It would have taken me a long time to do the math.
Yeah, it's it is crazy to think that it was that long ago. I mean, from one respect, it feels like a long time ago, but from another, it feels like just yesterday, especially when I look at everything on social media, whatever, leading up to the Super Bowl, all the media attention that's there, the guys sitting up on the podium doing interviews. And I think that was the craziest thing for me. Just being there and experiencing it, is how much media attention is there, because the NFL is obviously big and it's covered, on every major network and all of that. But you get to the Super Bowl and it's a whole different level. I mean, you have the Food Network. I remember getting interviewed by the Food Network. I mean, they had people there and asking you what your favorite food dish is, or if you like to cook. I mean, it's crazy. The Golf Channel's there. I mean, everything is there, and it's things that aren't normally covering the NFL. Now everybody's attention is turned towards the Super Bowl, and you start to realize, like, man, this is a really, really big deal. And it just adds to, well, now I'm more nervous because now everybody's watching. Now the Food Network's watching and caring what I do. Before they didn't care. And so, it's just a big spectacle, and so cool to be able to look back and have those experiences and be able to be a part of that, and to look back and to be able to say, like you mentioned, yeah, I didn't drop the pass. Fortunately, I don't have to live with that. I was able to catch a touchdown and something that I'll always, be able to look back and cherish that moment. But, in the moment, it's very surreal. You don't really internalize, like, even catching a touchdown pass. I think I threw the ball down and they had to go scramble and find somebody else. That one of our equipment guys had to find it just to be able to, get it back to me after the game and stuff. I was just so not thinking about how big the moment was in the moment that, you forget all those kind of things. So.
Well, you mentioned all the media attention. That game was, crazy. You caught a touchdown. There was the lights went out for I can't remember how many minutes, which was really crazy. The Harbaugh brothers were coaching against each other. When you think of that day, is it the touchdown that stands out to you the most, or is it something else that you remember?
Yeah, I think it's not the touchdown pass that I remember most. mean, there's so many things that you remember, like vividly. I remember coming out for warm-ups before the game started. And, you look around and this was really pregame, not even when you're getting announced and then they start the national anthem stuff. I mean, this is when you're just jogging out to start kind of warming up with the team and stuff. And, you look around, there's almost every celebrity you've ever seen in your whole life. And they're all lining the sidelines, and you see them in the first couple rows of the stands. And I'll just, you just, those images, you just remember. And then, in our Super Bowl, like you mentioned, the lights go out, which I've never experienced that in any football game, much less the biggest football game, in the history of the sport. And I think we did the math. It was like 2 hours from when our offense was on the field to when we got to come back on the field as an offense. So I think we had scored late in the second quarter, and they ended with the ball. Anyways, you go into halftime, and the Super Bowl halftime is about 3 times longer than your normal NFL halftime. And NFL halftime is 10 minutes. You go in, you make a couple quick adjustments, talk about a couple things, and you're right back out on the field, and it gets going. The NFL halftime is even much shorter than the college halftime. And so you kind of get accustomed to these really short halftimes. You don't have to sit around for a while and think much, and you just get back on the field and start playing again. But the NFL or the Super Bowl halftime, I mean, the biggest part of the Super Bowl is the halftime show. And so Beyonce was performing for us. And so you go in the locker room, and it's not 10 minutes. You have 30 minutes in there. And so you're sitting around. I remember guys like looking on their phones and playing games. They're doing stuff just to pass the time.
Guys are singing, all the single ladies in the locker room.
Yeah, and then you hear all the noise and commotion going on. You couldn't hear single ladies quite that well from the locker room, but I can imagine that was one of the songs that was being played out there. And so, it's just a really long, drawn out process. And then we take the field again. They kick off to us, and we return the kickoff. So our offense still isn't on the field. And then they get the ball, and they try to. Well, and then the lights go out during their series, and the lights were out for about 45 minutes. So, anyways, long story short, our offense, I had not taken the field for about 2 hours in the middle of the Super Bowl.
Man.
2 hour stretch where you're not on the field. That's really, really hard in a football game. I mean, now you got to kind of almost get rewarmed and do all that again. And you're not, back in that same zone and mind frame that you had been to start the game. And so that was tough. Our team didn't handle it as well as the 49ers team because we came out and made some mistakes. I think we had an early fumble and did a number of things to let them back in that game because it was 28-6 before the lights went out. And obviously the big conspiracy theory is that, Roger Goodell was not happy with the score and the way the game was trending. So he pulled the plug on the lights, tried to shift the momentum around a little bit and help the 49ers make it a game. And it ended up being a really good game. Fortunately, we came out on top. So.
Oh my gosh. Seriously insane. I can't even imagine. My biggest question is, did you get to meet Beyonce?
I did. I met Beyonce. So, when you win the Super Bowl, you have a really cool after party. And so we you get showered, changed, all that. You grab your family, and then you go to the Super Bowl after party. And it's all your teammates, all their families, and a bunch of celebrities.
Wow.
Because Beyonce was a halftime show, she was there with Jay-Z. I think Mary J. Blige performed at our little party and stuff like that. And we got to go up and, shake Jay-Z's hand, talk to Beyonce. My wife, ironically, was pregnant at the time with our oldest son. And Beyonce, rubbed her belly and told us congratulations and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we did get to meet her. And it was pretty cool.
You didn't name your kid Beyonce after that? She rubbed your wife's
well, it was a
pregnant
boy.
belly?
We didn't feel it was totally appropriate to name him Beyonce.
That's true.
But it was definitely, a point of discussion after that for sure.
That is incredible. Oh my goodness. It's like something out of a dream. Those poor guys that lost, that love Beyonce so much, didn't get their chance.
Dennis,
and
so that's the other part of it that you don't really think about when you win it is there's a whole other half, other team that, they have to just go home, and they're completely deflated. And you're on cloud 9 as the winner, and you get all these awesome experiences and everything like that. And they just lost the game. Their season's over. They have nothing to show for it, and other than a Super Bowl appearance, but it's, they don't get a cool Super Bowl ring and all that stuff. So, like, Lauren, my really good buddy is Austin Collie, and we're actually out here staying with them right now in Utah. And he lost the Super Bowl, his one and only Super Bowl appearance. They lost to the Saints. I think it was 2 years prior, maybe 2 or 3 years before we went to the Super Bowl. And I always talk to him, and I rub it in a little bit, but he's like, listen, there's nothing worse than having to go the entire season, all through the playoffs, just to lose in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's about the worst thing. You'd rather almost not go than have to go to that game and, deal with everything that surrounds it and then lose. It's a really, really bad feeling. And so I'm just grateful, blessed, thankful that I was able to win it, and I don't have to think about, the other side of that.
Well, staying with Austin Collie, I'm actually surprised you didn't pack your ring. I mean, I know you don't wear it much, but
well,
this might have been a good opportunity.
It would be a lot of packing my ring if I was going to flaunt it in his face every time. When he comes to my house, I wave it around a little bit, but not when I'm traveling to his house.
You'll put it right next to the door where he can always see it. Awesome. Dennis, you are fantastic. Thank you so much again for coming on.
All right. Thanks.
And that does it for us today. Thanks again to Dennis Pitta and Jason Shepard for coming on the show with me. You can join the Cougar Tailgate virtually, of course, every Saturday at noon Mountain Time, or download, rate, and review our podcast on Apple, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, or on BYUradio.org. This is Cougar Tailgate.